There's been a lot of talk today already about community and how that can fit into tidal power and wave energy. So hopefully this could provide a bit of information on our attitude towards that and how important that is to us. So I'm speaking today I'm speaking on behalf of Mon-Morlais. It's the third party manager for the 37 square kilometre area of seabed off the west coast of Anglesey. Our role is to manage that seabed on behalf of the Crown Estate and also to accelerate the deployment of tidal energy projects in this location. We intend to do that through the provision of infrastructure and the progression of consents for the site, whilst also setting out a framework for collaboration between different developers within the zone. The project, which is called Mon-Morlais, that's Welsh for Voice of the Sea, is intended to attract developers with projects of up to 30 megawatts in scale and to de-risk these initial array projects. We won't own turbines or projects in the zone, but we do intend to own the grid connection and cabling, which we will provide, and for a rental to individual projects. By way of brief introduction to Mon-Morlais, I think it's important to point out that we're a third sector organisation operating on a non-profit basis. There are 60 employees and it's been around since about 1990. It works to provide economic and community benefit in North Wales, including conservation and employment projects, and importantly seeks to ensure that local natural resources benefit the local area, and that the tidal opportunity is exploited to benefit the local economy. We add value to the island's resources, including skills, young people, local supply chain, and we've great experience in managing WEFO projects of over £50 million over 20 years. So by way of an update on the demonstration zone project, I'll give a brief summary of our progress of assessing the resource, consenting, securing grid, and some of the implications of this, and then also some views on research and collaboration and how I believe that this can be best supporting the tidal power development in Wales. So firstly, resource. This is the key question. The Crown Estate selected this site on the basis of a particular resource. With the help of partners, including CCAMS, we've ascertained ADCP and modelled tidal data for the zone. 2 ADCPs were deployed at the start of the year by a developer. An initial analysis has shown that the north of the zone, and just to the north of the zone, is a moderately attractive resource with peak flows of up to 3.1 metres per second. It's about 40 metres deep, roughly, across the whole area. It's clear that we need to understand that in more detail, but the information that we have shows that we really need to extend the zone northwards to capture these appropriate flows, and we're currently in the process of applying for Crown Estate for this boundary change to the zone, subject to stakeholder consultation, which will obviously be required. But this highlights a key point. There are specific areas of interest within that 37 square kilometre area, and these are the areas which should be targeted by research. Research in other areas will be wasted effort. On a more positive note, I believe CCAMS is about to deploy a further 2 ADCPs to further calibrate their numerical models and increase our and everybody's understanding of the resource. In terms of consenting, we've done quite a bit of work so far on considering our strategy for consenting the zone. We've considered 2 strategy options. The first would be a full consent for 1 or 2 shell or nominal projects, with a design envelope limited to a small number of devices which will be able to fit inside the Rochdale envelope for that project. And then the second, which is probably more ambitious but has wider benefits, is a full, wide-ranging comprehensive consent for multiple projects, incorporating the potential for many different technologies within the design envelope. The first option of nominal projects, 1 or 2 nominal projects, details of which would be defined in consultation with potential tenants, would determine the project design envelope. The design envelope would need to be wide enough to incorporate a small number of technology options and would restrict those technology types which could then be deployed in the zone without a significant modification of the consent. For example, a consented project might use a theoretical turbine which had theoretical characteristics such as a maximum diameter, a speed or noise level, and it might include a number of different options to fix the turbine to the seabed. Another consenting project could have a different set of characteristics depending on the diversity of technologies coming to the zone. The second option which I'll come on to, as a wide-ranging comprehensive full consent. This would incorporate as many different technologies as we could possibly conceive that could go into one Rochdale envelope. It's hugely ambitious. And the preferred approach with this would be to phase the consent such that data collected at each phase could then go on to increase the accuracy of impact assessments for each subsequent phase. For example, the initial phase could be a zone consent for maybe 3 megawatt technology demonstration projects, 2 10 megawatt demonstration arrays, and 1 30 megawatt commercial arrays, giving a total of around 60 megawatts in phase 1. Phase 2 would then build out further commercial projects up to the site maximum, which we believe to be around 100 megawatts. The consent would be sought in terms of worst case impacts, i.e. the fully built out phase 1 with a broad project design envelope for multiple technologies. That was a mouthful. I hope you followed it. The consent would be sought, as I said, in consultation with NRW. We've already consulted with NRW, the MMO, and our consultants, Royal Haskoning, who've been working on the consent at PTEC at the Isle of Wight, where many of these same questions are being asked. The options were assessed with respect to risks, timescales, and cost to determine the most effective route for this Anglesey tidal zone. It was decided that to maximise the range of opportunities available to different developers, a full wide-ranging consent would be sought for a phased deployment. We're currently in the process of scoping that EIA, and we expect to submit the scoping report in April. Grid. Mentamon has 13.5 megawatts secure, which is now expected to support the development of the zone, and also Monesto's project in North Wales. In addition to this, we've advanced discussions with Lateral Power and the DNO for over 100 megawatts of capacity. The key point here is that grid capacity waits for no man. Grid availability is a hotly competed resource across all renewables, and regardless of sector challenges we face, we must secure grid early on, otherwise it will be used by other technologies. For example, in the first quarter of last year, that's 3 months, 1 gigawatt of solar energy was connected in the UK in 3 months. They're not saving tidal energy's place at the table. We need to act to secure the grid for our projects. In terms of research, the environmental research proposed is very welcome and subject to a brief caveat that what we need is data that can be used in the consenting process. But nevertheless, it's very welcome to have the involvement of so many brilliant minds investing the demo zone off of Anglesey. But environmental data is only half of the picture. It's easy to forget that there are highly significant engineering issues and technical challenges which remain with every proposed device. And moreover, when inter-device interactions are considered both in hydrodynamic and electrical terms, I understand that in some circumstances the industry may wish to reassure people by downplaying the amount of work still needed to create optimized engineering solution, which most importantly, these solutions will reduce the cost of energy through a better understanding and technical knowledge. This technology is not ready, and the level of readiness needs to be carefully assessed to ensure that appropriate resources are made available to enable these essential opportunities for innovation. And lastly, collaboration. Demo zones are all about collaboration. That's essentially the entire concept. Closely located neighbouring projects for economy of scale and common approach. It's highly ambitious to link all the demo zones together, especially across different technologies and national boundaries, but we welcome the opportunity for sharing and learning so long as the benefits outweigh the costs and risks of project timescales. So in summary, progress is being made in the tidal zone at Anglesey on resource, consenting, grid and research, and I look forward to a productive year ahead with pragmatic and an honest approach to the challenges we face. Thank you.